Alrighty, howdy. It's Thursday, June 16th, 2022. This is late week update. Let's get straight into it. Well, let's be a little bit of a nerd for a couple of seconds. Have you ever heard of a GIC? It's a geomagnetically induced current. So if you really dive deep into the electric system of the world, as you know, we have 110 volts, we have 220 volts in many countries. And then we've got 50 hertz and 60 hertz, and some areas actually have really changeable flux. And then we've got the big boss, the sun. And space weather drives electric currents and magnetic fields in Earth's atmosphere that then cause these currents to flux. And obviously the transformers that supply our electricity, you guys know this better than me, will have spikes. And if the systems are weak, then we have too much current flowing into the power grid, and it can cause a blackout, especially with too much demand. So what happens is that if the big boss, the sun, and space weather, with all of the electromagnetic energy coming into our magnetosphere, is too heavy, it's too intense, and let's say we get a CME, coronal mass ejection, excuse me, or if we get a solar flare, we are going to see power outages increase. The risk of them actually increase. And so you can get power plants going offline. But not only that, we're looking into the Freeport LNG fire and obviously the loss of LNG at that facility as being a potential cause of a GIC, but a surge that is just out of town. I mean, it was just so much that it caused something very, very odd. And I want to take you through the next couple of hazard maps because these are going to be important. Now, the logic in this is kind of back to front. This map shows resistivity. All right, so this is the resistance. And there's different mineralization, different rocks, okay, in the lithosphere, the land below us, makes a difference to the conductivity. A high resistivity means that a material, like a rock or the ground below us, does not, I repeat, does not conduct electric charge well. So that's bad. Right? If you don't conduct electricity well through an area, that's bad. So all of the areas in blue, especially going down the East Coast in this megalopolis of 50+ million people, is bad. Energy does not conduct well. Energy also does not conduct well up here in eastern North Dakota and northern Minnesota. So you've got to have surge protectors there big time. All right, the safer areas, in other words, where electricity has a high conductance rate, all right, or a low resistivity, is in the Inner Mountain West, plus the Smokies and the Appalachian Mountains. All right? And so what this, as per the top 10, and you can check out the link there, they did this study. Now, they haven't finished it in Arizona or in the Deep South. So if you're thinking, hey, you know, what happens to geoelectric fields down there? It's likely that you're going to get an extension of these oranges into cities like Houston and Shreveport, all right? And the blacks will continue in this area. But near Denver, and especially up here in northern Minnesota, there's high risks for, if we have a geomagnetic superstorm or some kind of large solar flare, it will knock out the lights at a lot higher rate, and especially the highest here, okay, at the geoelectric amplitude is, down here near Charlotte or DC, near New York. So these oranges here, it's funny. It has a lot to do with many parameters, but the big one is, if you're ever investing in land, check out the conductivity, because that's also going to raise the vibration. All right. High conductivity means that you're connected, and it gets very, very interesting. All right, let's come back to the magnetics, because that is how weather flow truly happens over the planet. We know that the top layer is the magnetosphere, and there are channels of energy that go up and down that create a flux. Remember, we've got 100,000 lightning strikes on the planet on average every single day. And where does all that energy come from? Well, the electromagnetic flux. And most people don't know about that, but that's how we are doing our algorithmic long-range forecast. So let's go into this. The blues, are negative ions. And I want to bring your attention to this bad boy, the ACL, the Arctic compression low. And we started off by saying, hey, come on, this is crazy. Why is the Arctic region getting so cold so quickly and so fast before summer is even beginning, right? Summer solstice, June 20th to 21st, depending on which part of the planet you're on. And so we started looking into this, and we finally come up with the answer. You know what it is? The Arctic region has an electromagnetic blockage. And we're going to be getting more into what that truly means. But it means that we've got something buzzing, and it can't escape, and it's going to blow out probably in the second half of the summer, and it's going to have repercussions as to cooling down the West Central states for not only demand destruction, but it's going to affect agriculture going late summer into the fall. So this is going west, and then it comes out in the top right-hand corner here. And notice Greenland's cooling down now. This is different to a week ago. It's barreling into the Siberian MPV, and then this is leapfrogging southward with its negative ions, bringing colder air, which is now, we've just named this blue area called the Atlantic Cold Pool. We put names on this that are kind of more easy to remember, all right, rather than having all of these acronyms and you can't remember which one's which, kind of like the ABC agencies, right? The Southwest Loop Atlantic Bridge is being dislodged further, and it can't go into Greenland. It's probably going to get pulled back into North America, and it will supply extra heat in Canada midsummer. But this is what's really interesting, and this is going to be a big wind event in the fall going into Europe. But then that wind event, as per our top 10, is going to create big storms in the Rockies into the Western Plains this fall into the first half of winter. That's why I'm saying this is so important. But now let's fast forward, or shall we go back in time or reverse to the current situation with the Bow Echo Wave Dome. It is going to get so hot going into early next week in the Midwest, but this US Pacific cold pool is arching its cooler air into the Northeast. And so the Northeast is going to cool down rapidly over the next 7 days. And so that's going to be demand destruction there. But the Southwest Loop circulation wheel, in the meantime, is going to keep ejecting humidity northwestward into the Midwest and the plains. And so it's going to get not only hot, but really humid. And some nights are going to be in the mid to upper 70s in the Midwest. That's never happened before in June. So weird things are happening. And look, the next time you go and have a beer with one of your buddies and you want to ask and you want to discuss, hey, seeing all these extreme weather events, it's because the pores on the planet are closing up and nobody's talking about it. And pardon my passion, but when we see such a big red flag pulsing off it is going to bring big wins into North America in a couple of years. And the upside risk is that it could be earlier. All right, let's go into the zoom here. Now, remember, the one on the left was last Thursday, all right? And we had the Bow Echo Wave dome ejecting northeastward. You can see the red here. That's why we were saying Chicago's going to heat up. All right. Now, for next week, right, after Tuesday or Wednesday, the Bow Echo Wave dome is going to pull back westward. All right. So that's all those negative, that's all these positive ions here. So the Rockies, the Southwest is really going to heat up much more than even now. But the Southwest Loop circulation wheel is going to kind of take over. It's going to say, all right, Bo, if you want to go westward, I'll kind of do your job in supplying some heat. But the Southwest Loop can't supply the same amount of heat as the Bow. So it is going to be basically just kind of just dabbling in this area, all right? But some of it will leak northwestward, and it's going to bring more humidity than heat. So this area will probably go up that next notch with minimum temperatures in the 60s now. We're kind of going to go into this true summer period. Notice the US Pacific cold pool, that's staying very stable, very strong. I mean, it is really getting pegged here. And I hate to say it, but it increases the earthquake risk off the northwest coast there. And, you know, we're going to be talking about that probably next week. There's your Bow axis wave, right? So that's supplying the heat into the dome. And you can see a little bit of dipping here, right, as this cool pool dumps some energy into these areas like this. So some cooling across the north, not as much heat as we're going to see over the next 5 days. And you can see that very nicely here. There's your dome, okay? Here's your US Pacific cool pool, and it's going to be dumping in like this, all right? So here's your trough. Here's your high pressure ridge going way up. And the Mexico perspective modeling is good to know how much heat is coming into Texas and the Southwest. And you can see it really gets stronger in the Southwest, and it kind of just decreases a tiny bit in Texas. But notice, over much of the South, the heat is going to come in pulses. And again, a lot of tropical warmth will be going up into Northwest Canada. And because the ACL, the Arctic compression low, is so cold, this is going to be where the Eskimos get about 60 to 80 mile an hour gusts at times. So that's going to be just incredible up north. And eventually that wind line will come southward. You can see the precip is we've got a part of the southwest monsoon already kicking in, and that will throw occasional storms through northern Iowa into especially the UP of Michigan. And you can see those firing off there. Not all areas are going to get it, and so we'll be keeping tabs on there. But you can definitely see it drying out across Texas into the Ohio and Tennessee river valleys. And then we get some storms coming into the Central Plains and Midwest. Again, scattered storms, that is, because of the change in the air mass the middle half of next week. Now, we've got really just 3 areas of demand. Let's go to the consensus and see what they're saying. Obviously, strong demand, short term, ending this weekend and back to seasonable demand. Now, not all areas, as I say, are going to go back to near normal. In this area, from the 18th to the 20th or 21st, we're going to get really, really hot going into the first half of next week in the Midwest and the plains, right, or much of the plains. But it's going to get cooler for sure, notably in the east. Then we go back into a strong demand for literally the last tercile of June. It's not going to be record breaking, right, like we've just seen, or like we'll just see over the next 5 days. But certainly the euro is probably too hot. All right, it's added on too many cooling degree days. So we're going to be lower than that, and I'll show you that in just a second. So This is the euro here, and you can see how much higher it is than the GFS. I would say a safe bet is somewhere in between. You can see South Central areas very, very stable with the heat. The Midwest, hot here, but really, really hot the first half of next week. And then you can see mountain states for each region. You go in, you can see what the trend is going to be. Past 15 days consensus, very, very accurate on the total degree days, which is good. Our magic number is 1.6, went down a little bit because obviously we are now going into the second half of next week. We're adding in that cooling air, okay? Coming back down to really near normal, that seasonal demand. And then we expect it to take off in July again. Notice the cooler air, that's what we're really adding in. And because of the population weighted scheme, that's why our number probably went down more short term compared to Monday's. I think it was 2.5 because the Northeast is cooling off. But notice the Rockies heating up as the Bow Echo wave kind of just lodges a bit to the west. You can see day by day, there's the heat, there's the going back to cooling. And again, this is Northeast population weighted inclusive. Then we go hotter, right? And you can see all these hotter periods going into even much of July. So we've definitely got July at about 2 degrees above normal. And you can see that right here, 2.3 on the consensus, 1.9 for us, 2.3 for June, 2.0 for us. So there, the euro is more aggressive on the heat lately. And I think you'll see that that will decrease with time. But changes in the heat, again, Midwest plains heating up into early next week. And then the consensus pushing the heat hard, all right, especially in the central states. This is not including, all right, the coolness in the, well, it includes the cooling in the east, but there's going to be 2 different zones, all right? Central states warms up, east cools down. And again, the GFS is not as hot as the euro. Let's see that right here. Sorry, we've got the 2 charts here with the same number, but you can see there's the seasonable demand, June 19th. It comes back quickly, and then we kind of just go down. It's a little bit of a slight sort of trend down in heat towards the end of the month into early July, but we're still probably bullish enough to satisfy with temperatures still above normal. And the CFS has been adding in continually these hotter breaks. In other words, it's been underperforming on the amount of warmth that we are seeing. You can see that here with the red line, the Euro, AFC, and the GFS models all up here. You can see that the red line, the CFS, actually goes cooler from June 9th all the way, well, to here, to the 14th, and then it takes it cooler from the 17th to the 21st. We think that they will, the CFS that is, will add in heat as we go into time. Let's talk about Europe real quickly. It is going to get so hot into Saturday. We're thinking like low 100s for Paris. But then come Sunday, Monday, big cooling trough with the now right here and bringing in a northeasterly flow. It's going to drop like, well, in Europe, 15 to 20 Celsius, which is like 20 to 30 Fahrenheit back into the 60s. Absolutely incredible. And then you can see much lower levels of yellow, right? We're coming down the chart from the reds, right, to the yellows and even greens here. Cooling stream of air coming down for late June. However, like we've been advising, just the opposite in Asia. It is so hot over north central China. And a lot of this heat is going into the mother Bow Echo wave in the Pacific, which is then another cause or reason for the US to get hotter into July. All right, guys, aye from here. Be well. Blessings abound. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.